I understand the Brewers are in a difficult financial situation compared to a lot of teams. We all get that. In my view, and what I wrote here is you're making it even harder for your front office. And at some point, that could catch up with you.
Inside scoop with Ken Rosenthal. Oh, yeah, he is at spring training camp. So let's get into it right now with our FT Senior Insider. Ken, ABS challenge system coming soon. Quick question for you, and then you can obviously give us your thoughts on it. Do you like the strike zone box or not? 83% of our audience does.
I like it, but I also recognize that it's often inaccurate. And that's been a complaint baseball people have had for a long time with the K zone. And if it's inaccurate, it just leads to false perceptions. It leads people to get upset that maybe shouldn't be getting upset. So from that perspective, while I like the idea, I want to see where the pitch is. Obviously, it's problematic.
Agreed, Ken.
Do
But
you?
I love it on
Yeah.
the broadcast, so I think that they should stick with it. By the way, how's the ranch? How's Glendale, the ranch? How is it today? Because it looks
The
sunny
ranch is
where you
always
are.
nice, AJ. Very nice.
Well, you're on the right side. You're on the Dodger side. The Dodger side, people don't understand, has palm trees and all this stuff. The White Sox
It does.
side, desert, has
It
nothing but
does.
sun. The Dodgers has like pools and
Actually,
oases. White Sox side, nothing.
I don't know about pools at Oases, but the Dodger side might be a little nicer. I can confirm that.
Okay.
It is totally.
It's way nicer. There's little is a small statement for you, Kim. I'm just saying, before we get into anything else, all right, I got to ask this because you are in Dodgers camp and they've signed everybody. Are they going to sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr. next year when he's a free agent too, and put Freddie Freeman in second base to try it? I don't know. I mean, what's going on there? They missed
Uh,
the deadline in Toronto. Where's he going to sign?
wow, that's a great question. I don't know. I would say that the New York teams both need a first baseman. There's been a lot of talk about Boston, which I sort of get because obviously he has talked about going there seemingly to his friends. But if Triston Casas becomes a real player, maybe that's off the table. Now, then again, if Triston Casas keeps playing general manager as he did yesterday, I believe it was, telling everyone where he thought the infielders should be aligned this year with Devers at third, Bregman at second, I am not so sure the Red Sox are going to want to tolerate that for too long.
Hey, Ken, I think Toronto is, and really Canada is fuming right now over them not being able to even really apparently come close to an extension. So, what did you take of what happened the other day? I read your article about Vladdy Jr. I highly encourage everyone to check that out in The Athletic because it also gives a really good history lesson on this front office and how really the success was with Alex Anthopoulos' players in 2016 for the ALCS and Vladdy Jr.'s career actually kind of compares to Fernando Tatis in terms of timing, and you can get into this, but how they really missed the boat multiple times.
Right. Now, obviously, they could have corrected everything if they just gave him the right offer this time around. But basically, the point of what I wrote was that they had chances here. They had chances well before this. Now, if you remember, back in February 2021, that's when Tatis signed his 14-year, $340 million deal with the Padres. A lot of people, including myself, question that deal. That deal now is looking pretty good. And that was the same year. Guerrero, after that contract was signed, went off. He had his best year for the Blue Jays. And after that season, or even before that, they could have offered him the Tatis deal, right? Something similar. And at that point, he probably would have taken it. I would imagine he definitely would have taken it. So that was a chance. They had chances after that as well. And the history here is not great. Early on, they told the world that they planned to manipulate his service time. They were going to keep him in the minors. They didn't feel he was defensively sound enough. It was for his own good, all this stuff. He gets hurt. It didn't turn out to be an issue in that sense because he wouldn't have been available necessarily, but that was the plan. Then they take him to a hearing, an arbitration hearing in 2024. They lost that hearing. And there's this history of insufficient offers, or at least offers he deemed insufficient. And it's capped off by yesterday. Now, if you're a fan, you might say 500 million for a first baseman, even as good as Vlad Guerrero. That's ridiculous. No team should do that. But the point of what I wrote was that this should have been settled long ago, and he should have been extended long ago. So now AJ asks where he's going to go. People say, well, maybe it's Toronto. Maybe they come back to him. I guess that's conceivable. they can come back to him with a number closer to what he wants because they're getting a lot of heat, as you know. But the Blue Jays front office talks frequently about discipline, how they want to stay disciplined. Sometimes, actually often, that's a great idea. But when you've got a star player like this and you've got the Juan Soto deal there sitting at 765 million, the market's changed. And it seems like they had a couple of opportunities to react to that before even Soto signed, and they did not take advantage of them.
Ken, real quick, I want to go back to something you said. You said Triston Casas played GM yesterday, which is fine. You can do that, right? But I said this last year on here, and I questioned this. Are they going to get tired of his antics if he can't play and he doesn't perform? Well, this is just another one on the list. So could this expedite his? I mean, he has to come out and bang this year, right? In order for the Red Sox to be like, okay, you can say whatever you want.
I would say when you talk like that, and listen, reporters welcome that kind of talk. We love stuff like this, right? We feast on it. But when you say things like that, like he said yesterday, you've got to back it up. You've got to be really an established star. And I think that was the issue that certain people had with what Cassis did. This guy really hasn't accomplished that much, if anything at all, in the big leagues just yet. He's a talented guy. He's done a little bit. He's going to be fine. He's probably going to be a pretty good player. But if you're going to talk like that, it's probably best to have maybe, I don't know, 10 years in, maybe a couple of MVP awards. It just isn't something that's normally done by a player with his lack of stature, put it that way.
More in a minute, but first, a quick word from our sponsor of this video. All right, FT fam, collectors, there is a new, better way to buy, sell, trade, or display your sports cards. It's called Arena Club. And Kratz, I know you love it. The FT fam's got to go to arenaclub.com/foul to sign up and get a little extra something I'll tell you about in a moment. But buying in the past was clunky.
It wasn't easy. But now you don't have to worry about any of the shipping. And it's all just, it's easy right there. It's guaranteed authentic too for me, so I don't have to worry about that.
Exactly. Arena Club uses blockchain technology to deliver your card immediately. There's no shipping delays. You don't lose your card in transit. There's no, oh, my dog ate the card and now you don't have it, so here's a different one instead. So right now, 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul. Use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul. Code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. And now back to the video.
When you wrote the article this morning, or posted the article this morning about the Brewers, you mentioned in there how they're top 10 in attendance. They are an organization that's gone from $233 million in value when Antanasio bought them to $1.6 billion. And yet, the gist of the article, if I'm not mistaken, is they're cutting back spending this year after having a better team. Is it because of the fact that they won the division and they're like, we got beat by the sixth place team, so we can just slide into the sixth place spot? And you know what? It was a wash about making the money when we had 3 home games for the wild card series.
Right. Well, there's a lot going on with that story. And they were top 10 in attendance, or they've been top 10 in attendance since 2007, the cumulative numbers. They weren't top 10 last year, Eric, but the point is that they do this. They operate according to their revenues. They are a low revenue team and they don't have a big payroll. We all understand that. My question that I raised is, hey, this year you haven't signed a free agent for more than $1 million. You signed 3 guys. 1 was for $1 million. 2 were for less than that, and their salaries weren't even fully guaranteed. And you're doing that when you're coming off a division title and you had 3 home games. Now, what the owner, Mark Attanasio, said in a news conference yesterday was the money that you get from the wild card round when you get knocked out, as they did, is not consequential. It was like $1 million to $2 million. That's consequential to a lot of us, but to a baseball team, I guess not much. So that was one point. And then I actually did ask about, hey, because you got knocked out by a hot number 6 seed, is it a situation where maybe you just don't want to really go for it the same way when you know you can sneak into the playoffs as a number 6 and maybe have even better success than you've had? They've had 5 straight early eliminations without advancing. And Attanasio said, you go for the division title, you can't think that way. And I believe that is the case. I believe what he's saying is true there. His position is, we've got so many good young players, we're set. Well, they don't really have an answer at third base. He did acknowledge that you can always add to your pitching, and they should be adding to their pitching. That's the one thing that I don't quite follow. They could have been a team from the relievers out there, Kenley Jansen. They could still be a team for David Robertson or another reliever. And Jose Quintana is sitting out there. Andrew Heaney is sitting out there. Kyle Gibson, all still free agents. And I understand the Brewers are in a difficult financial situation compared to a lot of teams. We all get that. But in my view, and what I wrote here is, you're making it even harder for your front office. And at some point, that could catch up with you.
Agreed. Now you're at the ranch. You're in Glendale, Camelback Ranch, there with Dave Roberts. His contract's up. Aaron Boone, his contract's coming up here. Are they going to get the big bucks like a Craig Counsell? They deserve it. Listen, they're in huge markets. They've handled their teams unbelievably. So are they going to get the contracts they deserve, or are owners still going to say, "Oh, we can not pay these managers enough because the front office really does all the work anyways"? Because that's the way it looks from the outside with managers' salaries, how they've held them down. Well, Craig Counsell kind of broke the mold, so these two are next in line.
AJ, it's an interesting point you raised there. And if you think about it, we were talking about Guerrero just a minute ago and how Soto changed the market for him. Craig Counsell changed the market for managers. Dave Roberts is much more successful than Craig Counsell. He's won 2 World Series. He has the all-time highest winning percentage for managers with 250 games of experience or more. There's a lot going on there that is really positive. Boone, not as much, but his winning percentage is second among actives. Pretty good. So I would expect that the Roberts contract will come in above Counsell, but it's not necessarily going to be an easy negotiation because you're right. Teams don't value managers, and teams always point to contracts like Counsell's or like Soto's as an outlier. Well, just because that team did that doesn't mean we have to. Well, it's kind of not the way it works. And if Dave Roberts gets to the end of this contract without an extension, obviously there are teams that would want him. That said, all that said, I do expect both these guys to be signed to extensions by opening day.
All right, we'll see what happens. We'll talk about it in a sec. Ken, thank you very much. Enjoy the non-dark side of camp.
Enjoy the swimming pool, Ken,
side.
and the grape, and the ladies feeding you with fans and grapes.
Waterfalls,
enjoy that, Ken.
over.
Yeah.
Exactly,
When you go to the other side,
Thanks,
you ain't getting that.
Have fun. We'll talk soon.
I understand. Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.